Hey, good morning and happy Monday. This is Getting Started. My name is James Harnsberger, and thanks for dropping in. Hey, what I'm going to do this week, since it's middle of the month here in March, and it's Monday, March the 15th, is sort of set a tone for the second half of this month. Kind of a few of the things that I thought would be interesting to address or talk about. You know, this whole thing that we are working toward is helping people understand that part of the financial aspects that we have where we're getting that feeling where we're getting stuck, right, has to do a lot with the patterns and the routines that we've set up. Not that we've done that intentionally. It's just sort of, sometimes shit just happens, right? And all of a sudden you're going down the road in time, and you're 6 months, maybe a year and a half down the road in time. And all of a sudden you realize that you've got all this stuff just kind of like I was talking about, like with auto pay, right? And you get the sense that maybe you're disconnected or not engaged enough in your financial life. And that might be contributing to that feeling of being stuck. Like, you ever have the feeling like, boy, I would have done that, or I could have done that, or I should have done that when I had that opportunity, right? I know a lot of people after the tech bubble had burst, and when all those stocks were down at the bottom, a lot of people looked back and said, that's when I should have bought, right? I could have bought more stock when it dropped down in the dip. I use that as an example of the should have, would have, could have, right? Whenever we're talking, particularly in our financial life, whenever we're talking in terms of should have, would have, could have, that's a sign that we're not connected. My experience is that that's a sign that we don't have a plan. That's a sign that we're probably stuck. Because we're always looking at situations in the past tense of what we should have, could have, or would have done, but for the fact that we didn't have a plan, right? Or we weren't more engaged. What do we talk about when we're talking about being engaged with our money? Well, up on the website, if you'll go down there, right there where it's scrolling, and you'll there's a couple of tabs where you can open the tabs up and download some of the material that we're working with. And generally, what we've done is in particularly helping clients with their financial issues, particularly or more specifically with big tax problems. What we've done is adopted a process where we help them understand the different modes of time and the different modes of money. It's been my experience over the many years that I've been doing this that people don't forget to pay their taxes, right? We'd like to forget paying them. People don't forget to pay a bill. People don't forget to file a tax return. I mean, we all know April 15th is like April 15th, right? It's like that shit just doesn't change very much. And so is it that you forgot, or is it that we didn't set a priority, right? It's like, well, I should have filed, I could have filed, I would have filed if I'd had, it's all of the should have, would have, could have crap that creeps in. I'm the guy that back in the day, that's all that came out of my mouth was should have, would have, could have. And then I learned that going through after, crashing and burning a few times financially, I learned that shit just didn't work. The should have, would have, could have was just me making an excuse for not getting more engaged in having something of a plan, I guess. No plan is still a plan. It's a plan to do nothing. And doing nothing is always an option, right? But at the same time, Ben, when we realize we're stuck financially, and when I talk about stuck, I'm talking about the things that we desire, the kind of life that we want financially, and we compare and contrast to where we're at, and we're not there. And it's not that we're not there as much as it is we're not moving toward there. And maybe that's a sign that we haven't clearly defined there. And maybe it's a sign that we don't know where we are here currently through doing just an inventory or an assessment. So what I've learned from my experience in that working with clients is that if you focus on the basics, it's like the stock day trading. If you manage the upside and you do your homework and you do the fundamentals, and remember that the stock market's only about four things, right? Price, volume, buyers, and sellers. And that's all the stock market's ever been about. It ain't going to be about anything more than those four things. Those four fundamentals and a little bit of homework, and you can do day trading just like a lot of the people that I'm working with right now that are learning and doing day trading. I don't know, making an extra couple of $1,000s a month doing day trading seemed to be working for them. And it's one of those situations that they used to say, I would have, should have, could have, but I didn't know how. Well, is it that you didn't know how, or you didn't take time to learn? We get caught in this bullshit, about shoulda, woulda, coulda, and another day goes by, another week goes by, another month goes by, another year goes by. We're no longer 44, we're now 64. And then we look back and what the shit happened? Where'd all the time go, right? And we spend a lot of that time in the shoulda, woulda, coulda tent and not moving, right? And it's not that we're stuck, we're just not moving. And so this week, I'd like to focus a little bit on those modes of time and modes of money. I'm going to take one of each and pair them up, one mode of time and one mode of money, pair them up. I'm going to give you something to think about. You can go up to the website right here and download this and use it and write in and kind of play along if you want with the game here. What's the game? The game is winning. We want to win the financial game. We want to have a life that we define that is our financial life that allows us to create that life financially and have the things that we desire. But that shit ain't going to show up from Santa Claus, right? You actually got to do something to make that happen. I was so disappointed when I finally discovered Santa Claus was like bullshit. It did not exist. But anyway, so what we want to do is move forward from where we are here to where we want to be there. That's step one in anything that we do. Because if you do that, my experience has been, I don't get trapped in that bullshit about I shoulda, woulda, coulda, because I'm not deciding. I've already decided and I know how to do shit. And if I don't, I'll figure it out and I'll ask for help, or I'll go take a course, or I'll learn. I'll do whatever it takes to figure it out, right? Because I learned a long time ago when I said I do my best. My best was great on Monday, but Tuesday, man, that sucked. And Friday, forget it, man. It was like happy hour. That's all that mattered, right? So my best kind of sucked on Friday. When I learned that doing whatever it takes was a different mindset, setting my mind to the thing that I desired, then I learned that there were a few things that were non-negotiable. Things that I want in my financial life that are non-negotiable means that I'm going to do that, and it's not negotiable. That's just how I'm going to set shit up, and that's just how I'm going to do it. And I broke a lot of those patterns and routines that were just, man, they were just like big potholes, right? I mean, pothole, like it's 6 feet deep, right? Every time you turn around, you're falling into that again. And that's just a reflection that we've set things up in a way that we're not engaged. At least that's what I discovered. And I wasn't so much that I wasn't engaged, is that I was spending more time bitching about it than I was doing anything about it, right? It's easy to sit around and complain, oh, I could have blah, blah, blah. And that's where I learned that this whole thing about should have, would have, and could have, for me at least, we're all different, right? We all are unique. We all have our own way, but I think some things are kind of common about how human beings being human work. And I think that, at least for me, my experience was when I used I should have, I would have, and I could have, that was just bullshit excuse making that gave me a pass not to do whatever it takes, not to even forget doing more, just do whatever it takes, right? So in the modes of time and in the modes of money, there are 5 modes, and each of them have some keys that are very important. This is what I've discovered over the many years, really helping people get past, and a lot of it was the knock on the door from the IRS, right? You want to talk about your butt cheeks getting tight, have an IRS agent show up at your house, right? And then all of a sudden your day is just like totally screwed up. And so that was I did a lot of that kind of work, right? And so when that happens, it's a little bit late to have a conversation, because now it's just about taking shit and seizing property. Back in the day, I mean, watching them show up and seize a house, seize cars, businesses, lock them down. And they still do that shit, right? They still do that. And at that point, when you do enough of that kind of work, it's like, man, every day is like a bad day for a lot of people, right? And I started looking at those patterns in back in the day, because I found a lot of things that were common. As diverse as my clients have been and are today, I got clients from every kind of group that you could have possibly imagined, and it's totally cool. Because it keeps things interesting. And I learn a lot from different people's perspectives about just how people look at shit, right? And what I learned was that there were things that we all did that were kind of common. And when it came to the money, it wasn't so much the money as it was the bigger picture of the financial aspect of our life and how we went about handling that. And I discovered that, and this part was really true, that a lot of that shit you form in your head basically when you're a little kid, just from mimicking, right? Just the shit that you see around in your neighborhood or in your home or whatever. And studies have shown that a good part of that, a large part of that, is formed in those early years between, say, 5 and 13, I think was the one study that pointed to a lot. And so when we focus on time and we focus on money, time is money. We've heard that idiom a lot. And that is because if you're framing things in that context, what you're doing is you're sort of rewiring your perception. Everything is about perception, how we perceive things. We can both look at a situation, and based on our own experience and our own bias or our own favor and our own perception, we can see something very different. Two people can see the same thing very differently. And so when it comes to money, this is especially true because of the amount of emotion that is connected with money. And if you don't think that there's a lot of emotion, just have the IRS take all your shit away from you, like your house and your car and your business, and they just lock shit down and sell it, right? You get real emotional. Or take your bank account or your paycheck, right? And so having seen a lot of that, it was really more of a situation that, man, there had to be something that could be more beneficial than just putting out a fire all the time. And that's really what started all of this back in the day in terms of trying to develop some program. And out of that, this mode of time and mode of money sort of developed and designed itself, because those patterns were pretty common amongst most people, particularly when they were stuck financially. So in the modes of time and money, there's sort of a parallel. We have spending money, we have investing money, we have saving money, all of these different aspects of the modes of money and how we interact with it. And it's similar with time, because time is money. And so I think that for this week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the first part of that, modes of money and modes of time, and pair up the two. And that is spending money and spending time, right? When I talk about spending time, I'm talking about what do we spend time on? I think a lot of us maybe did that exercise where we wrote down every hour for a couple of days, what we did for the last hour. And I got a lot of great feedback. Thank you very much. That was totally cool. Because that exercise, I did that. In fact, I did that recently at the beginning of the year for about 3 or 4 days. And then it hit me that I was starting to see this pattern show up again. And that's why the shit in the garage wasn't getting done, right? And so it allowed me to make a quick shift. And instead of, just, it's like the candy wrapper under the car seat, right? It's, it's there, but it's like, what the hell happens if we don't even just reach down and get the damn thing and throw it away, right? I'll get it later, mañana, right? And we do that because I think the brain's just lazy, right? Thus we're telling it what to do. It's just going to sit around and, I don't know, wait for a cocktail hour. And so when we're spending money and we're spending time, where are we spending our time? An interesting paradox might be to ask, how much time do we spend spending money? and I'd laugh a little bit, but think about it. If you're tracking your receipts and just keeping your receipts in two different piles, stuff that you want and stuff that you need, then you can ask the next question: how much time do you spend spending money? And how much time do you spend on thinking about spending money? How much time do you spend on thinking about money? And are you thinking about money in your mindset and framing it, or are you shoulda, woulda, coulda? What I was doing when I was doing that, I was bitching, right? I was just complaining, just complaining. And all that did is just piss me off, right? I was just frustrated all the time, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't work because I wasn't getting anywhere. And once I started just doing stuff, things changed. Like almost instantly, things changed because my perception and my awareness had shifted. And I came to realize that a good part of the process, or a good part of the condition that I was complaining about, I had created by making excuses of what I should have done, what I could have done, and what I would have done, but for the fact of, and then fill in the blank of your favorite flavor of bullshit excuse, right? And that's kind of how it got set up. And so what I did to flip that back in the day, and this has been like, I don't know, 3 decades ago. It's been a while. But it's like it happened. Some of it's like it happened yesterday. You never get rid of that memory, right? Or the experience. And what happens is that I don't think a lot of times, because we're in such a networked society now, I don't think that we have that time that we take once in a while to just disconnect a little bit and just sit around. It's like one of the greatest things about Einstein, who, according to his math teachers or professors, was a below average math student. Yeah. So what? That's your opinion. Genius, right? And I think we're all a genius. I think we all have that genius ability. But I think we get stuck in just the noise that goes on. If you have time, what he would do, and a lot of people do, and I even do this myself, is I have time set aside every week just for thought experiments, for the creative side. I got a little journal. I'll show it to you real quick right here. I got a little journal right here, and ideas. This is my ideas journal. Anytime I have an idea, I got to remember that it's not an idea unless I write it down. It's only a thought. Once I write it down, now it's officially an idea, and it's in the idea book. And you would be surprised how I've had several things and I've done this for many years. I will write something down, and like 2 years later, something will hit me, and bam, I've got it there, and then I'm able to connect. And that's how powerful the mind and the brain can be once we write shit down. It's sort of like it engages another step in the process of doing. When you're just thinking about shit, you're just thinking about shit. And there's nothing really happening except thinking. But if you're taking the approach of maybe like thought experiments, have some personal time set aside. I've got 2 hours once a week that's all I do is I just sit there and whatever I'm doing. But I do write shit down because it's a creative time that allows me to just forget about all the noise and the COVID crap and what's happening over here and who, what the neighbor do. Like I give a shit about the neighbor, right? None of that matters because that's time that I'm sitting there dedicated to at least something that is creative and coming through the process. I'm not trying to come up with an idea. I'm just letting ideas show up. And then if they show up, I just write them down, right? And it's just kind of a cool experiment, and it's just a cool exercise. And I do that every week. Einstein did this like every day. That dude, man, would be for like 11, 12, 14 hours sometimes, just looking off into nowhere in thought experiments. And then he'd have the bam genius moment and E equals MC squared came up, right? The theory of relativity and special relativity. Those things we're all capable of doing, but we get so connected to the noise and we get patterned into the habit of being networked. And I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago or maybe a week ago. Try an experiment on Friday of the week. Just pick a Friday, any Friday. And at 6 o'clock Friday evening, turn off your cell phone, turn off your computer, turn off your radio, turn off your television, turn off all of the communication bullshit devices, right? Just turn them off. And don't turn anything back on until Monday morning at 6 a.m. If you want to see how your emotional state and how connected you really are, you can measure by the level of anxiety, frustration. Initially, there's just all kinds of stuff that you're gonna feel. Try doing that, and I invite you to step up to the challenge and do it. Don't try doing it, just do it. And you're gonna. It's like us, like here, Susan and I. I mean, I can't remember the last time we watched the television and watched news, right? News or whatever they call that shit, right? I just don't remember the last time we turned it on. Now, we do turn it on once in a while, like if we're going to have movie night or something like that. But really, it's like a wall decoration, right? It doesn't do much, and we don't use it a lot. And that's kind of, it's just a different approach. Because we've got more time to read and write and do other shit that we're working on and things that we want to do. And we don't get sucked into some vortex of electronic media. So try that. Now let's move to tying modes of money and time. And I'm going to pick spending time and spending money. It's really a situation that when you're spending time on something, the question that, at least for me, the way I ask is, what is this time that I'm now doing? What is the outcome that I'm about to do? And so every day what I do is I have this little routine that I set up that I make a list of 10 things that have to be done today. Not 11, not 12, 10. That's my limit. And then whatever I do, I am committed to do whatever it takes. Those 10 things are going to get done today. Some of it might be phone calls. Some of it might be follow-ups that I've got to do, or I've got to meet with somebody or whatever. 10 things. When I'm done with 10, if there's 11 or 12 or any more, it goes to the next day. I'm not doing more than 10 because I cannot be effective trying to do everything every day. You wear yourself out, and then and then you die like 20 years before you're supposed to, right? You just get into this habit of you're rushing around trying to do everything and you're getting nothing done, right? At least that's the way it felt for me. And I just finally said, that's bullshit. I'm not doing that anymore. I've got a limit. I'm going to work on 10 things today, maximum. Sometimes my list is only 3 things because it's like 3 things that takes a good amount of time. My point being that I start my day with a direction and where I'm going to be at the end of the day. And I'm going to be at the end of the day, all the shit on my list is going to be done. And I keep those lists and I scan them and then save them. And I oftentimes go back and refer to them because my memory is like everybody's memory. It's not perfect, right? And I thought I said something or I thought I did. You ever had that moment? And it's like, no, actually I didn't. When I look at my notes, I didn't, please forgive me. I made a mistake, was mistaken. And that was an exercise that I still do today, and was very effective at allowing me to shift immediately my perception of my time and how valuable it was. When I'm working on stuff that needs to be done, whether it's in the business or maybe on our rental properties or on the day trading or whatever, I got shit to do, right? But I'm not trying to, like back in the day, I was like trying to do everything. It's like you get this superhero complex, right? And it's like I guess you could try to do that, but I know a lot of people that in the tax industry that died prematurely of strokes and heart attacks, working during tax season till midnight. Man, I quit doing that over 30 years ago. Man, I'm not doing that. And so you set your life up in a way that, if you don't feel like you're in control, it might be because you're not directing exactly how you want to do it and how you want to engage every day. So what worked for me in terms of how I spend my time, I decide that in the morning. And it's a little bit flexible because I can move shit around a little bit. Something will happen, and I've got to move something to tomorrow and put something on today. So it does have some flexibility, but it's non-negotiable. No more than 10 things. That shit's not going to happen. I'm not doing more than 10 things. And I stick to that even to this day. So in terms of spending time, maybe take some time this week and just be observant and have your perception and radar on a little bit, and just take note. Maybe at the end of the day, write a little note about how did you spend your time today? Not so much was it productive or non-productive, just kind of you're observing yourself. You're looking down, observing you doing whatever you do. And then at the end of the day, just write a little note. And I would encourage you to consider stepping up to the challenge. We'll call it the Friday Disconnect Challenge. Just turn all the shit off on Friday at 6 p.m. And don't turn the shit back on until Monday at 6 a.m. And then tell me how you felt. Tell yourself how you felt. Even the when you get wound up and you're not on the internet and doing this and doing that you're on the phone and it's like people walk off cliffs doing this shit, right? And so Disconnect Friday. Let's do Disconnect Friday. We're going to disconnect Friday and step up to that challenge and just take some personal time and decide how you want to spend your time. You can decide. You have every choice to make and how you spend. It's your time, right? If you want to spend it doing stuff that's going to get you from here to there, maybe spend some of the time defining where you are here and where there is, and watch how fast shit changes and shifts in your favor. In terms of spending money, we've already defined two ways that money can go out, to stuff that is needed and stuff that is wanted. So let's take that to the next step up. And in terms of spending money, let's try to look at reframing first. Before we spend any money, let's ask a different question. And the question would be, have we taken some of the money and set it aside for us first? Remember, the pay yourself first. That pay yourself first, when I actually got that down and actually, I've actually mastered that in how I've set my life up financially, and Susan and I, and how we do this. There's not a situation that happens where if we get money, we don't do that. We absolutely do that every time. We pay ourselves first, and then work with whatever we have left to do whatever we have to do. And that was all the difference. That was a major part of all the difference in the world. It changes your attitude, your perception. It changes how you see things with your money. It puts you at the top where you should be, the most important person in the world, and it gives you that sense that that there is more to this. And sometimes the patterns or the shoulda, woulda, coulda bullshit gets in the way, and we use that. For me, it was an excuse. I don't know. For other people, it could be something else. But I'll be blunt. For me, it was just I was making excuses, so I didn't have to do the work. And it's not even work. It was like, God, this is like my financial life, right? And to me, it's like that should be the most important thing. And it wasn't for a long time. And then when it became the most important thing, or one of the most important things, that's when everything changed and shifted in my favor. And fortunately, I had some very good mentors and some great experiences of crashing and burning. I got that shit down great. So I had context that I could use to compare and contrast. That compare and contrast thing is very important because it gives you, again, a different perspective, and your perception is going to guide a lot of this. All right, so let's wrap up for today, Monday, March the 15th. Man, are you watching Bitcoin just up and down? Bitcoin has gone up $19,000 in the last 8 days. It has never done that. If you're watching the stocks that are on our stock watch, and some of you that are trading those, good, you've hit the cash register several times. You're going to see more of this, because I'm going to tell you that what we're going to see in the next 90 days is we're going to see this blow past 62, 65, 72, 77, 83. It wouldn't surprise me that we would get to $100,000 per Bitcoin by July 4th. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. Most analysts are now rewriting their previous poo-poo opinions about Bitcoin, and now saying that, at least by the end of the year. I think by the end of the year, at long-term worst case scenario, I think by July 4th, we could be looking at that. And then we have here's another perfect situation. Are you one of those that woulda, shoulda, coulda got into Bitcoin? I'm not saying go invest in Bitcoin. I'm not saying that. But if that's something that you're interested in doing, what are you waiting for, right? What are you waiting for? If day trading is something that you're interested in doing, what are you waiting for? Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? Nothing happens until some shit moves, right? Nothing happens until shit moves. So make some shit move and do something. What are you doing to make the day trading thing happen if that's what you want to do? All right. Have an awesome day. God, the rain. When are we stopping with the rain? It's like it's still coming, right? So I'll be staying in today because I don't want to get cold and wet. But tomorrow we'll cover 2 more from Modes of Time and Money. We'll pair them up. I'll give you a little bit more of what you can do in some personal time exercises. Again, I'm giving you stuff that I think was so important when I finally got it, and it worked for me, and I've seen it work for other people. I mean, hundreds of other people. Just and how fast it works was amazing. If you're in that situation where you feel like that hamster on the wheel and you're not going anywhere, there's a reason, and a lot of this can be attributed to not defining where there is. Start your day and have a limit, right? I'm gonna do 5 things today. Quit trying to do 50. I mean, it's like Jesus. I mean, fuck. I mean, it's just like, no, you're gonna burn out, right? You're just gonna burn out. 10. My number is 10. No 11. Take a number and see me tomorrow. Have an awesome day. Take care. Hit me if you need me. Go up to the website, get some of that cool shit, and start using it. All right, take care.